Hey everybody, it's Kurt from Extreme Audio in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Today we're going to be putting in the WHD14 in place of this Sony 7000 on this 2019 Street Glide. Let's get started. Like always, you want to protect your fender, so we put a fender cover on there. That way, if you drop any screws, anything like that, it's not going to wreck the fender. We'll start by removing the two outside T25 screws. We're going to leave the center screw in to hold the fairing on while we remove the other 4 screws on the other side. Okay, we're going to remove the 4 screws. These are also T25. And what you'll notice is the bottom screw is shorter than the top one. You want to make sure when you put it back together, you don't mix that up because it could poke through the other side and damage your paint. Now we're going to remove that last center screw, and that's going to allow the fairing to come off. You're going to want to hold on to the windshield as well. And then you can simply disconnect the headlight. Once you get the headlight disconnected, you set the fairing aside. This bike has a Rockford system in already. We will be removing that as well, so we're going to just take that out for now. We will be replacing it with one of our Extreme Audio systems. So there's 2 T25 screws that we're going to remove to take the vent out. And it simply just slides forward. I'm just going to unplug the wires from this amplifier right now. And then we'll take that amp out and get it out of the way. All right, now that we have all that out of the way, we're going to remove these 4 screws. I like to use an extension so it's easier to get at the screws. What you might find on an older bike too is a lot of times these screws are in there really tight or they're corroded in. Just do your best not to strip them out. Next, we're going to unplug all these harnesses. So from the gauges up here, there's going to be a little thing holding it in place. We're going to disconnect that. Just pull these little clips back to get the wires out. Then there's going to be 2 T25 screws up here we're going to pull out. And then 1 more screw holding on the USB pocket. Once you got those screws out, you can simply remove this top plate. Once you got that plate out, we're going to remove the 4 screws holding in the radio. Once you got that out, simply lift the radio out, move it out of the way. To put the new radio in, we're also going to have to remove the gauges. So there'll be 1 screw up on the top, and then the whole gauge assembly will come out. Now that that's removed, we can insert our WHD14 and put those 4 screws right back into place. I like to get them all started before I tighten it up. That way you have a little bit of room, cross thread. Now we're going to put the gauges back in. And we'll put our plate back in place. And we have our USB pocket. And there's 4 screws that go here also. That go with our amp plate. I'm going to add those in later. For this video, I'm just going to show you how to put it back together. Just snap everything back in. So now we have our wiring all back intact. We're going to put the plug and play T-harness in place. Then we'll plug in our USB for our antenna. This Sony had a different USB, so we'll have to put an OEM one back in. We're going to plug in our antenna. This is what makes the CarPlay and Android Auto certified. It actually uses this antenna for the maps to get better positioning. And we'll zip tie all that up. He previously had a microphone, so we're going to just put it up here. Plug that in. And then basically we're going to zip tie this all back up and put the fairing back on, and radio will be ready to go. Plug our headlight back in. Get it lined up and put the center bolt in. And put our 4 screws in on the other side. Remember, the long ones go in the middle, not to mix them up with the bottom. Short ones in the bottom. Let's make sure it works. That's pretty much it. That's how easy it is to install the Soundstream radio on a 2019 Street Glide.